Warning, the following program has been rated T for truth.
You can't handle the truth!
Oh, we think you can. Welcome to the Naked Truth Report with your host, truth warrior and mythbuster Kathleen Wells. The place where we distinguish fact from fiction, where data is used to drive points home, and where Kathleen takes the position that Democrats and black politicians have destroyed black America. Welcome to the Naked Truth Report. Now, your host, Kathleen Wells.
Welcome to the Naked Truth Report. I'm your host, Kathleen Wells. I'm glad to have you. You heard the little excerpt, the little commercial that we had, JFK versus the CIA, with the author Michael Calder. I haven't read the book yet, The Central Intelligence Agency's Assassination of the President. It sounds interesting, intriguing. You know, I like history. We'll have Michael Calder on after I read the book to discuss it. There are a lot of things that I want to discuss today. I think I want to title the show, What Happened to Black Excellence? I just listened to a interview that Candace Owens conducted with Kingface. He's not of my generation. He's probably in his 30s. So, you know, the young generation, I hate that I say, I say that too much. The young generation, folks in their 20s and 30s and possibly in their 40s, have been so dumbed down. And the education system, I also want to talk about that because Thomas Sowell was on with Life, Liberty, and Levine talking about charter schools. So the issue is the issues that I want to discuss today. If I have enough time, I'll get to all of them, but I doubt that I will. Is what happened to black excellence? Why we do not embrace school choice? Thomas Sowell has a new book out on that, School Choice and Their Enemies. The fact that the left and the media are now bringing up coronavirus. I think L.A. Mayor Garcetti mentioned that he would even do a second lockdown. Can you imagine? We see in the media, we see periodically folks who are getting into sort of arguments, fisticuffs arguments with folks who are, when they go out in public, and not have on a mask. I've seen videos of folks going into a convenience store or something like that and getting into an argument with someone because they didn't want to wear a mask. The question is, why aren't more people protesting? The data is not, the science is not there that mask wearing precludes the spread of the virus. That's one thing. The second thing is when they were protesting BLM, George Floyd's death, they were out there, maybe some, initially none of them were mask wearing. Eventually some started mask wearing. They weren't social distancing, but yet coronavirus was not the huge thing. What was the huge thing? George Floyd, and Black Lives Matter. I want to get into the Black Lives Matter issue. Because when I was listening to Candace Owens' interview with, what's his name? Not Scarface. What's his name? Where is it? I can't remember. I can't believe I forgot it. Kingface. I was going to call him Scarface. Kingface. He's a young black man who was a Crip in a gang in New York. He's now a MAGA hat wearing Trump supporter. Young black guy. Check out the interview. You'll find it on YouTube. Candace Owens and Scarface. They just did that. Not Scarface, Kingface. They just did that interview last week. It is a beautiful interview and I love it. And they talked about black culture. This goes into what happened to black excellence. When you know the history of black America, you know that we pursued black excellence. And I always say this, everything is interrelated and interconnected. I've said it 1,000 times. And wasn't it Goebbels that said that if you repeat something enough, it will sink in? So I repeat the same things frequently because I want it to sink in. So we had black excellence when we had two-parent families. You can see pictures of black Americans dressing in the early 20th century, 1920s, 1930s, 1940s. How we dressed before the civil rights movement, before the Black Power movement. This is what Robert Woodson says. When whites were at their worst, blacks were at their best. Now, you see how things are topsy-turvy? Now whites are at their best and blacks are at their worst. The irony, right? The irony. I think it was someone who said something about, I think I heard this quote in Candace Owens' interview. When blacks got their freedom, meaning after Jim Crow, when segregation was no longer legitimized by the government, they regressed. They became worse. Freedom really shook them up because then they had to really compete with whites. You see, they had to perform. They weren't isolated. So now they're using as an excuse because, in fact, I was talking to a young black woman on social media and I used the word competition because the definition I use of racism, which I got from Dr. Claude Anderson, is racism is a competition between groups. I've said that 1,000 times before. Racism is a competition between groups. I got that definition from Dr. Claude Anderson. She didn't understand the word competition. Listen, man has been competing since time immemorial. Am I right? Between tribes, intertribally, ethnically, it's always been about competition. Why? It's human nature. It's the nature of man to compete. I got to go out there and fight that dinosaur or whatever to feed my family. You know, that's a bad example, but you know what I mean. So anyway, when I was getting back to what happened to black excellence, when I was listening to Candace Owens' interview with Kingface, they were bringing up George Floyd and Black Lives Matter. I did not know, because I didn't look into the George Floyd thing. I don't have to look into it because I'm not reactionary and it's always the same old thing. So I don't need to know the details. It's always the same old pattern. And Black America always immediately reacts because they're what? Emotional and not logical and rational. Am I right? So we find out that George Floyd, and I mentioned this last week, he pretended to be a Department of Water and Power worker, knocked on a woman's door who was pregnant, and he had a comrade with him, and he put the gun to a pregnant woman's stomach. Okay? How is that cool? How is that cool? And his friend pistol whipped this pregnant woman. How is that? How is that the actions, the behavior of someone who's a hero? And I find out he's been to jail, or prison rather, 9 times. George Floyd has been to prison 9 times. Now what's coming all out is that he resisted arrest. We didn't see that footage, okay? I didn't look at the video. I didn't need to look at it. But now the video footage is coming out and I remember someone on social media said, "Oh no, he didn't resist." You didn't see the video of him resisting. So now it's coming out that he resisted, and it's also coming out that he was on fentanyl. They did a toxicology report. He was on fentanyl. And fentanyl is like 10 times worse or 100 times worse, I can't remember, worse than morphine. So naturally he couldn't breathe. So if this officer is acquitted, most black folks will not know all of these details. They will just say, "Oh my God, they're so racist." They will just react. They won't know the details. I don't know if he will get off or not, but I'm saying there are more details that you shouldn't react. You've got to wait to get the full story before before you're decisive and definitive. You get the full story before you can take a definitive position on anything. And this is what you learn in school. This is how you learn how to critically think in school. You reserve judgment until you receive all the information. Everyone who knows how to think well knows that. Am I right? So getting back to this thing about schools, okay, we saw, what's his name, Chris Wallace, interviewing Betsy DeVos today. Betsy DeVos is the Secretary of Education. The left, Democrats, do not want to open schools this fall. And if they do open the schools this fall, they want it sort of like in a limited way to be, and this limited way will be like the new normal. In fact, I heard someone say something to the effect on TV. They said, let's see, wearing a mask is going to be like carrying your cell phone. It's the new normal. Do you see? You see how they're shifting and changing the culture. The issue is this. What has the left, when we look at the data, when we look at the history accurately, when has the left ever been right? What have they achieved? I've said this 1,000 times before also. When is liberal ideology ever right? When is liberal ideology never a destructive force? And that's something that Dennis Prager says. He says everything the left touches, it destroys. This is true. We know it destroyed Black America. Why? Because we know the data, we know the history. Example. Black Americans went from 87% two-parent families in the early 20th century, more than white families, to in the 60s when Lyndon Baines Johnson delivered that speech at Howard University, we were 65% two-parent families. Now we're, 25%. That is regressing. That's degradation. That's devolving. That's going backwards. The freer we are, the worse off we are. And when you look at Black Lives Matter, they're talking about, as I mentioned last week, Black Lives Matter is the Black Panther movement with trans rights injected. Now, the Black Panther movement, what did it achieve for Black America? Maybe some what is the word I wanted? Some temporary benefits, but long-term, nothing beneficial. Why do we know that? Why? Because Black America is facing zero median wealth by 2053. Because Black Americans only have 25% two-parent family. This is subsequent to the Black Panther movement. A lot of folks, and I blame Black men, okay? Yes. That's why I said last week, I will always blame Black men. You have a responsibility. Men are supposed to be leading these communities, not the women. Us women are supposed to be embracing our femininity. That's our role. That free sex feminism got things twisted. Everything is upside down and topsy-turvy. All these guys that call into Washington Journal, Black guys bashing Trump, I read the data point that in 2016, only 33% of Black men were married. 33%. If you can't get and keep a wife, if you're not a family man, you're not a man. Yeah. So why are you bashing Trump? If you cannot maintain a family, how can you get along in society? George Floyd, I'm sure he had baby mamas. I didn't know all those details, but he wasn't a family man. He wasn't a married man. I think he lived with his girlfriend. He wasn't a responsible man, and yet our community is making him a hero. Why? Because our leaders, like Al Sharpton, they weren't raised with fathers. I don't think Louis Farrakhan was raised with a father. Most of these guys that are so-called leaders of Black America, which is, we take that term, we use that term because they get out there talking about stuff. They're not family men. They didn't have fathers themselves. So how can you get along in society when you can't even get along with a woman and keep a wife and maintain a family? And you're expected. This is why they had no respect for the pregnant woman, George Floyd. This is why he went to prison 9 times, because he doesn't have a responsibility to a family. He probably wasn't raised with a father. And yet, they made, and this is disturbing, is how these elite folks in the media are caving to the Black Lives Matter movement and how it's morphed into the anti-Trump, anti-capitalism, pro-socialism, pro-Marxism movement. This George Floyd movement has morphed. It's no longer about George Floyd. It's about destroying statues, bringing them down, changing the foundations and the traditions of America, injecting Marxism and communism into the veins of America, and Joe Biden going along with that, and using coronavirus against Trump, as if Trump brought coronavirus to America. As if we don't remember that Biden said when Trump banned travel from China into the United States, Biden said, well, that's xenophobic and racist. And now Biden is taking the position of his new plan, agenda, is America first. Sound familiar? He wants to bring back jobs to America. But he's been in D.C. 47 years. What did he do about racism? All this racism in the DNA of America then. What did he do about Americans having jobs for the 47 years that he was in D.C.? What did he do? So talking about black excellence, what do you have to think about? To have black excellence, you must have values, and you must have standards, and you must have boundaries. So when you ask a black American, what are your values? What are your standards? What are your boundaries? You don't just, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. We've all heard that before. So Candace Owens was saying that you can, I think it was, she mentioned in her book, she has a chapter on this, about black culture. Now, back in the day, in the 70s, the number one song was, at some point, the Temptations' My Girl. When it's cold outside, what is it? Something like, on a cloudy day, I forgot. On a cloudy day, you guys know that. I've got the month of May. So, but now, that was the number one song back in the day. When it's cold outside, yeah. So, now the number one song is Megan Stallion, who I've never heard of. You guys probably know. And Beyonce. And it's the first lyric is like, B word this, B word this. I'm a B word this, I'm a B word that. So what are the values and standards? So Candace Owens mentions in this chapter that Confucius said in 440 BC that you can always assess the quality, how a society is governed and their mores or something like that, the quality by the quality of the music. You can assess the good and bad of a people or the society and how it's governed, and if it's good or bad by the quality of the music. So Black America is like a subset of America. We're Americans, but we're also a subset because we've had a distinct history that all of America did not have. A distinct history, distinct for us, specific and distinct for us, for Black America. So what is our music? Megan Stallion, the number one song is Megan Stallion and Beyonce saying, I'm a B word this, I'm a B word that. So what are the values? We have a problem with respect. It's so funny how we talk about, black, when a white cop or a white person attacks a black person, oh my God, it's racism. But we never talk about the fact, do black folks respect one another? Do we show respect for one another? Do we? That's the question on the table. I want some of my callers to call in and tell me, do blacks respect one another? We call each other the N-word. The men call the women the B word. You saw it on the show with, what is that guy's name? 50 Cent. What's that show, Power? And then there was another show I can't even remember. There were two shows, Power on cable, Power and the other one I can't remember. And it's so funny because when I did watch a few episodes of Power. You can't watch it for long or you can't watch it consistently. I did watch a few episodes, but one of the things that I found most interesting were the lyrics to the song that opens the show, which are sung by 50 Cent. I mean, it's catchy, it's got a beat, but it's like negative. It's B word this, B word that, N word this. Oh my God. Even Dr. Frances Cress Wellesley and everyone, we know I interviewed Dr. Frances Cress Wellesley regularly on the Kathleen Wells show, and she is the woman who has since passed, and she is the psychiatrist who popularized the term white supremacy. That term she got from Neely Fuller. And I discussed this on the show before. I always care. In fact, I have her list in my credenza. She had a list of 17 bullet points that Black Americans must do. I've talked about that before on the list. And one of the things is stop name calling, stop talking bad about each other, stop throwing trash in your communities. Keep your communities clean. These are but these folks that talk about racism / white supremacy, like, what's his name, Tariq Nasheed and all those social media influencers, they never talk about Dr. Frances Cress Wellesley's list of what we must do as a people. The onus is on us to do something, on our culture to do something. One of the things that they mention is, I think that the school district, now this whole thing about school choice is something that Black Americans should definitely want and desire. We know Black boys in California, or is it Los Angeles, only 75% do not read at their grade level. 75%. That's disgusting. Anyway, we're going to go into a break, and I want to say, and I forgot to bring the phone number for Balance of Nature. Next week I'll bring it. But definitely go to balanceofnature.com and put in Naked Truth, and you'll get a 35% discount on Balance of Nature. 31 servings of fruits and vegetables. Yes, I take it every day, and this is why I can do a show without notes. But you see, I do forget some things, but they kick back in, right? Because I think I'm on my 31 servings of fruits and vegetables. I'm also going to start taking this green drink. I ordered it on Amazon. It's a green something. But check it out, balanceofnature.com. Put in code Naked Truth, and you get a 35% discount. I'm your host, Kathleen Wells. This is the Naked Truth Report, and we'll be right back. Through the perilous fight. We want to talk about what we love about America. Why is everything so negative? Why is the media and the left so negative? Why? You can't be a winner if you're negative. My nature is optimistic. I love Dennis Prager's Happiness Hour. It's a good thing. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's what we all should be pursuing. Happiness, life, liberty, freedom. We've got to talk about freedom also. How are you free when you don't have a choice as to which school your kids go to? How are you free when you can't get your kids the best education in a school system when they're young? How is that freedom? And school choice enables you to have your kids go get the best education. Don't you want the best for your kids? Good parents want the best for their children. Yeah. Are you a good parent? That's the question. That goes back to standards and values. What do you value? And what are your boundaries? Do you know? Do you have any boundaries? Or is it like anything and everything goes? Everything is cool. Everything is kosher. Being disrespectful to police is cool. Why is that cool? Why do you not have any respect for police officers? We know the data. Only 9 unarmed black men were killed by cops last year. We are 42 million black Americans. What happens to 9 black folks is not our national interest or agenda. Because why? Because the greater number is always what's more important. Why don't I take a call now from, let's see, who's calling me? Who's calling the Naked Truth Report? Hi, Mike. Welcome to the Naked Truth Report.
Hi, Kathleen. Thank you for your wonderful show. I want to discuss Black Lives Matter a little bit, and then I want to ask you an important question. I want to point out that Black Lives Matter, they have groups going into different cities pretending like they're local people, trying to make it look like it's a local grassroots campaign. They're outsiders. I suspect they're getting paid, probably with George Soros money. And they'll recruit a few local people, and then they make lists of demands to the police department, the city, and the school board for a radical, very radical Marxist agenda. And yet, if they really cared about our fellow Americans who are black, they would be protesting outside Planned Parenthood clinics, because I believe you've said before, hopefully people know this by now, but Planned Parenthood was created by racist Margaret Sanger for eugenics against black people to reduce their birth rates because she believed blacks were inherently inferior genetically. Okay, they would also be protesting for school choice vouchers, as you just mentioned a few minutes ago, that is also an important freedom and right. And they would be promoting that everyone watch the videos and read the books of Thomas Sowell, and also Walter E. Williams, so they can learn how to get ahead in life and in our society, rather than believe the Democrat and Black Lives Matter lies, that it's not worth even trying, because no matter what they do, they cannot get ahead in life due to this so-called intrinsic, or whatever they call systemic racism. So, anyway, then I have a question for you.
Okay,
and
go ahead. Go ahead and ask.
My question is, and this could be a sensitive subject or a sensitive question, but I'm wondering what your thoughts are if we were to start using the term parallel to police brutality, which is a real problem in some areas, but not nearly as serious as what maybe we can call black brutality, the very excessively high violent crime rate, as well as property crime rate committed by black criminals, not by all blacks, by black criminals, against all races, especially against other blacks. Because you had mentioned, I believe, that blacks in this country commit more than half the murders. They're about 12% of the population. The males commit most of those. They're probably about 5% of the population or so. And then it's males probably between age 15 and 25 or 35 or so even a smaller percentage. But the thing is, about 90 to 95% of the victims of black murders are other blacks.
Right. So what is your question?
So what do you think? Is it really derogatory and negative and wrong to start using the term black brutality in comparison to police brutality? Is it offensive, or is it something maybe that could get productive?
No, I mean, I'm not politically correct. I'm not offended by words. Okay? So I'm not politically correct. You notice how, like, folks are now using the term people of color? You see how the media influences the minds?
Oh, they torture communist, Marxist, socialist, Democrat Party politicians. They torture the language until it cooperates.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the things that Kingface said in his interview with Candace Owen is that all Black lives matter. All
Black lives matter, and all lives matter, but all Black lives matter includes those still in the womb. And exactly. Many have arms and legs, fingers and toes, and brainwaves and heartbeats, and they're being killed.
And 150 years from now, abortion will be, people who perform abortions and have abortions will be considered baby killers.
Well, they should be compared to the Nazi Holocaust. And I'm Jewish, by the way. I'm Jewish, and my mother's a survivor of pogroms against Jews in communist Russia. And if we look at the numbers okay, how Planned Parenthood kills 1 million preborn babies every 3 years, and they're disproportionately black and brown babies. Okay, so if we look at that and compare it with the numbers of the Holocaust, and then if you go back to the U.S. Supreme Court decision Roe versus Wade, there's probably 40, 50 or more million preborn babies killed in this country, and that surpasses the Holocaust, although it does not surpass the methods that the Nazis, the National Socialists, used, the factory-style mass murder of living human beings.
Well, I think the percentage of black Americans is decreasing over time. It's not increasing.
It probably is, because between abortion and between massive illegal immigration, that black percentage of black population probably is decreasing, and Democrats are throwing blacks under the bus, not just in the end of the bus, but under the bus, because they take blacks for granted, black Americans, because they know, number one, 90 to 95% of them vote Democrat automatically as a knee-jerk reaction, because they've been brainwashed to believe the opposite of the truth, that Republicans are racist and Democrats are anti-racist, when the opposite is true. And the Democrat Party realizes that they have to import new Democrat voters by the millions to win future elections, because they cannot win on the issues alone. They have to win by buying votes with other people's money, with tax money, and they also have to win by creating fake issues, like America is some inherently racist country when it's probably one of the least racist countries in the world that has different races living here, and they create these other fake issues like global warming, climate change, and all kinds of other fake issues, because they cannot run on crime, they cannot run on education, they cannot run on national defense, they cannot run on jobs and free economy, because the Democrats would lose every election if they ran on the real issues.
Right, I agree with you. Yes, I'm not politically correct. Thanks for calling in, Mike. I appreciate it, calling into the Naked Truth Report. So one of the things that I'm not politically correct. You can use, I'm not offended by words. I'm not offended by words, and I'm not the wordsmith controlling the use of terms and making them up, like intersectionality. What does that mean? Who made that up? The woman, I think her name was Kimberly Crenshaw. There is an LGBTQ mafia that is taking over everything. Two lesbians founded Black Lives Matter. Now, you think two lesbians are interested in the well-being of black men? That's the question. I doubt it. Also, I've heard that Black Lives Matter, in a matter of a few minutes, like 45 minutes, or maybe, I can't remember, they got like $40 million. And George Floyd's family got, I think, 12 or 13 million. They raised that fast. Can you imagine? So we made George Floyd into a hero, a man whose friend pistol whipped a pregnant woman. George Floyd has been to prison 9 times. He put a pistol to the belly of a pregnant woman. He pretended he was a Department of Water and Power worker to get inside her house. They pistol whipped a pregnant woman. What are your values? What are your standards? This man is the hero for Black America. Tells, as Al Sharpton says, he got his funeral paid for. It was all on TV. We need more people like Candace Owens and this King Face, and we need more of these people on the national stage, telling it like it is, telling the truth without facing reprisals like cancel culture. Because they try to cancel you. Listen, I'm blocked on Facebook again. Every 30 days, or for 30 days, like I'm on for a little bit and then they block me. Okay? They don't want to hear the truth. And actually, I'm blocked on Facebook, and when I went on to look at something, they have a survey. They asked me to take a survey. I didn't take the survey, but I looked at the first question, and it was like, do you still agree with this post that you wrote? This is like censorship, folks. I didn't even want to answer. It was a survey. They said, do you agree with what, is this, a something that I said to some. It was a response that I made to someone's post, and the first question on Facebook was, "Do you still agree with this position?" Censorship. I'm talking about censorship. You see? Anyway, let's take a call now from Brent in L.A. Hi, Brent. Welcome to the Naked Truth Report.
Hi, Kathleen. How are you?
I'm good.
Great. You know, I was listening to earlier, and it was like a punch in the gut. And it was so important what you said, where a woman is demanding of men that they need to be men. We don't hear that enough. And the so-called feminist movement has feminized their men. And if women don't demand that men be men, they will not be.
Right. Women have to have standards and values and boundaries, and they must embrace their femininity.
It's so much, the very source of the problems we face. You're talking with, fatherless children, especially sons. And I was thinking, this chant, Black Lives Matter, that they repeat, hypnotically. I'm thinking, what kind of a mind could ever get those words out of their mouth unless they're psychotic or sociopathic? Because whoever told them, how did the Democrats, or why did the Democrats say, your lives do not matter? And they assume that, that we're the ones thinking that, when it's all the Democrats that are thinking that.
Right. Being with the Democrat, critical thinking is not a part of it. It's just a popular meme, something that sounds good, like toast or something, toast tastes good with tea or something. It's like something like that. You know what I'm saying? It's nothing significant or something you can sink your teeth into. It sounds good. Black Lives Matter. You can say it quick, and so therefore it encompasses everything. Taking down statues, communism, trans rights. It's just morphed into everything. It has nothing to do with Black lives. Mm-hmm. They even took down the statue of Frederick Douglass.
But I think what we have to do is to learn how to speak the language of incomprehensibility and incoherence. That is what the language of the left is. It doesn't make sense. And the moment you actually start listening to it, you realize moment to moment how insane it is.
Well, it's for the uninitiated, people who aren't good thinkers.
Right, because we haven't been taught to think in our schools. It's illegal to think anymore.
Right, and the nerve of the union, the school union, not allowing or dictating to school choice advocates. Can you imagine? They have the traditional public schools have failed the students.
Well, they've abused the children. It's not they failed them. They have taught them garbage knowingly. I mean, it's really a criminal enterprise, and that LAUSD doesn't want to take kids back until I don't know when.
Right.
Wow, that's good. Keep the kids out of these damn schools. Of course, they have to have an education. We have to have new educational systems and new teachers and new schools. And it wouldn't be that hard to do if we actually recognize that's what we need.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Brent, thank you for calling in to the Naked Truth Report. Hi, Pamela from Culver City. Welcome to the Naked Truth Report.
Hi, Kathleen. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I was calling in because I agree with you how the family needs values and boundaries. And I think we grew up in similar families and probably even the same area because I grew up in the Crenshaw area. And my father worked 6 days a week as a gardener from sunrise to sunset, and my mother stayed at home. And my father sent 5 of us kids to private schools on his salary. And we went to church every Sunday. We had to respect our parents and elders. So we grew up with a lot of values and structure, and it has benefited us a lot. And even when I raised my son, I raised him with discipline and structure and values. And he didn't like it at first growing up, but now he appreciates it as an adult because he coaches children, and he appreciates children who are well-disciplined. And another thing I wanted to mention is that I'm really concerned about how the Black Lives Matter is just taking over in so many different ways. And I was wondering, what do you think about maybe blacks starting their own movements, black against Black Lives Matter? Because I don't agree with their demands and what they stand for. And I believe that most blacks do not stand with Black Lives Matter.
Right, and therefore defunding the police. I think that the American people, yes, must stand up and have courage. We must.
Yeah, but a lot of them are just being cowards and wimps and just giving in to whatever Black Lives Matter demands.
Well, and the elite. Oprah Winfrey is behind this 1619 project. The elite and the separatists. Yes, people just want to be popular. They go along with groupthink and what's popular, but not what's right. They don't go along with what is right. But it takes courage to go against what's popular. You have to have courage. More people, more Americans, it's the responsibility of the American citizenry to stand up against what's wrong.
Right, yes. Exactly. I think we should start a movement to defund and dismantle Black Lives Matter.
Well, or defund the schools. You know, everyone must get involved and be engaged in the political system and aware of what's going on. It is our responsibility because it's slipping through our fingers. Thank you, Pamela. Let's get in one more call from Linda real quick. We only have how much we have, Jeff? 1 minute? We have 3 minutes. Can you get in quick, Linda, for 3 minutes? Hi, Linda. Welcome to the Naked Truth Report.
Yes, I can. In regards to what Pamela said, there should be a counter group to Black Lives Matter, a black group. I came up with an idea. This is just off the top of my head. How about Black Lives Liberty or Black Lives Freedom? Yeah, this is just off the top of my head. Mm-hmm. And, they could put on their website, what they stand for. Opposite of Black Lives Matter, they could put capitalism, and all the good stuff.
And I think I've seen T-shirts that says Black Fathers Matter. I don't know if he meant, I don't know. George Floyd was a father, but I don't think he was a father. I mean, do you know what I'm saying? He wasn't a daddy. He was a father biological, but he wasn't a daddy. But we should have a thing, Black Daddies Matter or something.
This just came off the top of my head.
Yeah. I think so. Thank you, Linda, for calling in. So we've got 2 minutes left, and what I want to say, call back Pascal next week. We'll be discussing, I don't know, I'm going to read this book, JFK versus the CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency's assassination of the president. This is written by Michael Calder, Calder. I'm going to read it. Maybe I'll have him on. I should be able to read it. It looks like I can read it. I can read it and have him in, and maybe we'll discuss that. I'm not sure what we're going to do. I like to play it by ear. Thank you for listening to the Naked Truth Report. I'm your host, Kathleen Wells. Go to the Naked Truth. Go to balanceofnature.com and get your 31 servings of fruits and vegetables. Yes. I'll see you next week. Thanks.